Hari Om. Sukumarji, please commence.
Sahana vavatu sahanau bhunatu sahaviryam karavavahai tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakodi Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Dhamma Vidvaram. Om Sri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Om Pradasmarami Kriti Samspuradatmatattvam Sachit Sugam Paramaham Sagadim Turiyam Yasopna Jagara Sushutama Vaiti Nityam Tadbrahma Nishkalamaham Najabhuta Sankaha Pradarbhajami Manasa Vachasamagамyam Vacho Vibhanti Nividaya Dhanugrahena Yennedi Nedi Vachaner Nigamavavucho Tandeva Deva Majamachudamapuragram Pradharnamami Tamasa Paramarkavarnam Purnam Sanadana Padam Purushotamakyam Yasminnidam Jagata Sheshamasheshamurto Rajvam Bhujangamaiva Pratibhasidam Vai. Pranasedam Vashi Sarvam Diveya Pratishtitam Mateva Putran Rakshasva Srijñam Prajñam Cha Videyana Iti. ഗുരുപാദുക സ്തോത്രം. അനന്ത സംസാര സമുദ്രതാര നൗകായിതാഭ്യാം ഗുരുഭക്തിദാഭ്യാം വൈരാഗ്യ സാമ്രാജ്യത പൂജനാഭ്യാം നമോ നമ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം കവിത്വവാരാശിനിശാകരാഭ്യാം ദൗർഭാഗ്യദാവാം ഭുതമാലികാഭ്യാം ദൂരീകൃതാനം വിപത്തദീഭ്യാം നമോ നമ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം നദായയോ ശ്രീപതിതാം സമീയോ കദാചിദപ്യാശു ദരിദ്രവര്യാഃ മൂകാശ്ച വാചസ്പതിതാം ഹിതാഭ്യാം നമോ നമ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം നാലീകനീകാശപദാകൃതാഭ്യാം നാനാവിമോഹാദിനിവാരികാഭ്യാം നമജ്ജനാഭീഷ്ടതതിപ്രദാഭ്യാം നമോ നമ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം കൃപാലിമൗലി വൃജരത്നകാന്തി സരിദ്വിരാജാബ്ജകന്യകാഭ്യാം കൃപത്വദാഭ്യാം നതലോകപങ്ക്തി നമോ നമ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം പാവാന്തകാരാർക്കപരംപരാഭ്യാം താപത്രയാഹീന്ദ്രഗവേശ്വരാഭ്യാം ജാഢ്യാബ്ധി സംശോഷണവാഢവാഭ്യാം നമോ നമ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം സമാധിഷട്കപ്രദവൈഭവാഭ്യാം സമാധിദാനവൃതദീക്ഷിതാഭ്യാം രമാധവാം സ്ഥിരഭക്തിദാഭ്യാം നമോ നമ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം സ്വാർച്ചാപരാണാം അഖിലേഷ്ടദാഭ്യാം സ്വാഹാ സഹായാക്ഷദുരന്ധരാഭ്യാം സ്വാന്താച്ച പാവപ്രദപൂജനാഭ്യാം നമോ നമ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം കാമാദിസർപ്പഭുജഗാരുഢാഭ്യാം വിവേകവൈരാഗ്യനിധിപ്രദാഭ്യാം ബോധപ്രദാഭ്യാം ധൃതമോക്ഷദാഭ്യാം നമോ നമ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം നമോ നമ ശ്രീ ഗുരുപാദുകാഭ്യാം. പാപം കരോതി വാചാലം പങ്കും ലംഘയതേ ഗിരിം യത്കൃപാതമഹം വന്ദേ പരമാനന്ദമാധവം യം ബ്രഹ്മാ വരുണേന്ദ്രരുദ്രമരുതഃ സുന്വന്തി ദിവ്യൈസ്തവൈ വേദൈ സാംഗപദക്രമോപനിഷദൈ ഗായന്തി യം സാമഗാഃ ധ്യാനാവസ്ഥിതദ്ഗതേന മനസാ പശ്യന്തി യം യോഗിനോ യസ്യാന്തം ന വിദുഃസുരാസുരഗണ ദേവായ തസ്മൈ നമഃ. സർവധർമാൻ പരിത്യജ്യ മാമേകം ശരണം വ്രജ അഹം ത്വാ സർവപാപിഭ്യോ മോക്ഷയിഷ്യാമി മാ ശുചഃ. Slokas 21 to 30. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Shri Krishna Paramatmani Namaha. Adha Shashtodhyayah Dhyana Yogaha. Shri Bhagavan Vacham Sugamatyandigam Yathat Buddhigrahyam Veti Yatra na Chaivayam Sthitachaladi Tattvataha Yam Ladvada Chaparam Labham Manyatena Tataha Yasmin Sthito na Dukkena Gurunapi Vijayate Tam Vidya Dukkha Samyogam Viyogam Yoga Samhidam Sanischayena Yoktavyaha Yogo Nirvinna Chetasaha Sankalpa Prabhavan Kaman Tektva Sarvana Sheshataha Manasevendriya Gramam Viniyamya Samantataha Shane Shane Ruparame Buddhyadridi Grihitaya Atma Samstam Mana Kritva Tagijinda Vichintayet Yedo Yedo Nischarati Manaschanjalamassthiram Tadasto Niyame Tad Atmanyeva Vasham Nayet Prashantamanasam Enam Yoginam Sukhamuttamam Upeti Shantarajasam Brahmabhutamakalmasham Yunjan Sadatmanam Yogi Vigata Kalmashaham Sukhena Brahma Samsparsham Atyantam Sukhamasnuti Sarvabhutastamatmanam Sarvabhutani Chatmani Ikshate Yoga Yuktatma Sarvatra Samadarshanaha Yomam Pashyati Sarvatra Sarvam Chamai Pashyati Tasyaham na pranashyami Sachame na pranashyati Om Tat Sat.
Hari. Now we'll go to the recap. Guru, would you please do the recap for the last week?
Hari Om. Yata tipo nivadasto nekate sopamam shruta yogino yadasittasya punyato yogamatmanaha. So this 19 what we done last time, maybe what Swamiji which is trying to say. When there is a light in the room, if there is no breeze, then the light becomes constant and it's illuminating the light in a very constant way. The same as in our mind, if there is a distractions or maybe our desires are so higher or lower and demanding here and there and experiment, then we cannot take up proper decisions and our mind and the intellect is not focusing on the higher things. It's not, maybe we may need to do some task which we are supposed to do, but not towards the higher self. How this flame is going straight away in the upwards, the same as our mind and intellect is trying to go upwards. So here the Swamiji is matching with respect to the breeze and the illuminating the light. The same as our mind and intellect, if there is no disturbance with respect to our desires, then it will try to achieve to the higher goal. So the next one from 20 to 23. Yatro paramate sittam nirittam yoga sevaya yatra saivatmanatmanam pushyan atmani tushyati Sukam atyantikam yatta buddhi rahyamadintriyam vetti yatra naisayvayam sattassaladi datvataha yam latva saparam labam manyate nadikam tataha yasmin stito nadukhena gurunapi visalyate Dambityatukka samyoga yogam yoga samhidam. So in this collectively from 20 to 23, what we understand. So when the one which is giving how we need to be steady in our mind, like in the room there is no breeze, how the light is illuminating. The same as we have to keep practice to do this in a yoga, how we can try to keep on focusing on to achieve the higher selves, but that is not easy. So then our mind is like a keep on wavering here and there, all this in our life with our own like desires and sorrows and joyfuls. So either it will be a sorrow or it will be anxiety and so many things will be there. But when you try to be with the same kind of the state, which is a very steady state, then you can try to become achieve. But the Swamiji says like the beautiful example in this. So in a dark room, the Swamiji and his friend entering into the dark room, there is no light. So when they enter both together, and then that the Swamiji friend is having a torch in his hand. So he is trying to show what is in this room. Then Swamiji is put a pet on him. So he says, you cannot see everything in the room by using your torch. In the room, there is an object which you cannot identify. Then his friend says, no, Swamiji, how come it is possible? I am having a torch. You just tell me what are the things which you want. I can try to show this, illuminate this light and try to show the things. Then Swamiji is putting a bet. I will bet $100. Then he just put the $100 in the table, and that his friend is also putting a bet in the $100 in the table. And then Swamiji asked the questions. Can you let me know the battery of the company in the torch? What is the battery of the company? Whether it is a Everready or whatever may be the company. Can you try to identify in the dark room when there is no light by using this torch? Then Swamiji said, I won this game. Because you cannot identify by using the torch to see what is the company of the battery. So if you want to see, you need to remove the battery. If you remove the battery, there is no light. But when you insert the battery, the light will come, but you cannot see the battery. So the same as when there is a mind and intellect trying to identify something by using your body, like in our body, mind, intellect, try to identify something. But it's all try to identify something with the help of the Supreme Consciousness. But all these things which cannot see what is the Supreme Consciousness. Once you are try to see that, or if you try to see that your Supreme Consciousness, the body, mind, and intellect will not be there. You cannot see that. So example, the same as like a battery and light. The moment if you try to get the battery, there is no light, there is no body, mind, or intellect to try to see this, you are the world of objects or maybe things in the room. But the moment if you put your consciousness will help for your body, mind, and intellect try to identify the things in the room. You need to go to that state, the body, mind, and intellect moving towards the conscious, which is a supreme state. Then you cannot identify. That is the state which is called as a yoga. The once you try to achieve that state, you will be completely away from your joys or sorrows or the next things. But now the next answer what he is explaining here, when we are in the state in our Baudiga life, our mind is keep wandering. When there is a house, when we are in the house, we see like it is only an empty house. We need a furniture. Okay, so when there is a furniture, we will see, okay, it's only a furniture, I need a TV. When there is a TV, again the TV comes. When you see again it is a black and white TV, I need a color TV. Again, when the color TV comes, I need a video. Again, when the video comes, there are more furnitures, more things. When the more furniture, more things comes, the room is not enough, we need to buy a bigger house. So the mind is keep wanting the next. Even when things comes, we will go for the next things. This is how the mind is keep on wandering. But when you try to be in that state, even with the clay or even with the gold, your mind will try to see the same thing in the world of objects. But when this will go to that state, how we will try to attain is only a practice. So try to do this meditation, the yoga. The yoga is, he says in this, Sugha Samyoga Vyogam. So we are now married with the sorrows in this Dukkha Samyoga life. Our life is completely attached to this, any one of this, like a wetted with the sorrows life. In our Baudiga life, which is anxiety or this one, our happiness, our sorrows, our desires, or wandering one after other, which is keeps going. When you try to do this completely away from this, the diverse Vyogam, that is called Yoga Samnigidam. So the sun is always deliver the same lights, energy, but we are all in the waves. In the sea, the waves are keep coming and going, so you cannot see the same power of the sun in the sea of the waters. So when you are in the mind and intellect in the same state, then it will try to observe the same energy from within us. So the consciousness within us, it keeps giving the energy to us. By using this energy, we are trying to understand, we are trying to perceive the things outside of the world. But we will not be able to understand, or we will not be able to see the consciousness by using your mind and intellect. That's an example of our torch, the company of the battery and the torch with the living room. So when you try to diverse your Sugha Dukkham, then you will attain that yoga state. Just Sugha Samyoga Vyogam, Yoga Samkidam. Try to diverse it. Then you will
sorry, Guruji, but we are just getting out of time for recap.
Sorry, that's it, Kalas. That's finished.
Thank you. Move to Dilip ji, please.
Can you go to next, Manish ji?
Yeah, we'll go to Dilip ji. Dilip ji, please, can you start the new?
Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry. Sloga 24 and 25. Sankalpa prabhavan kaman tyaktva sarvana sheshataha Manasaivedriya Gramam Viniyamya Samandataha Shanai Shanairuparamit Buddhyadriti Grihitaya Alma Samstam Kritva Na Kinchitabi Chintayet. Sankalpa Prabhavan, born of Sankalpa, imagination, Kaman, desires, Tyaktva, having abandoned, Sarvan, all, Asheshadaha, without reserve, Manasa, by the mind, Eva, even, Indriya, Indriya Gramam, the whole group of senses, Viniyamya, completely restraining, Samandadaha, from all sides, abandoning without reserve all desires born of Sankalpa and completely restraining the whole group of senses by the mind from all sides. Shanai Shanairuparamit Buddhyadriti Grihitaya Alpa Samstam Mana Kretva Na Kinchidavi Chintayet. Shanai, gradually. Uparamet, let him attain quietude. Buddhya, by the intellect. Dhridigrihitva, held in firmness. Alma samstam, placed in the self. Mana, the mind. Kritva, having made. Na, not. Kinchid, anything. Abhi, even. Chintayed, na chintayed. Let him think. Little by little, let him attain quietude by the intellect held in firmness, having made the mind established in the self, let him not think of anything. In the last section, the entire goal of yoga was indicated as the state wherein the mind, through the practice of concentration, comes to get itself absolutely restrained. Later on, we were given a glorious word picture of the state of enjoyment and perfection that one will be introduced to in this state of meditation. This theoretical exposition has no practical value unless exhaustive instructions are given as to how a diligent seeker can bring about this total mental poise consciously in a deliberate spiritual act of perfect self-control. In these two brilliant stanzas, the subtle art of meditation has been explained. The sacred secret as to how to bring the mind to a single pointedness, and thereafter we should do with what that mind in concentration, and how we should approach the truth and ultimately realize it in an act of deliberate and conscious becoming, are all exhaustively indicated in these two significant stanzas. Renouncing all, Sarvan, renouncing all desires fully, Asheshadaha, by the mind, control all the sense organs from their entire world of sense objects. Herein, every word demands commentary, since every phrase leaves a hint, which is so important in ultimately assuring for the seeker a complete success. It is not only sufficient that all desires are renounced, but each desire must be totally eradicated. By these two terms, Sarvan and Sheshata, no trace of doubt is left in the minds of seekers as to the condition of their mental equipoise during the moments of their higher education. The term Asheshata means that even the desire for this perfection of yoga is to be in the end totally renounced. Renunciation of desires is advised here with a very necessary and important qualification. But unfortunately, the intelligent had been ignoring in Hinduism the significant qualification and had thus perverted our sacred religion to act and behave as though it recommended a life of indolence with neither any ambition to achieve nor any desire to accomplish. The term born of Sankalpa is a very significant term, qualifying the desires that are to be announced totally and fully. The term Sankalpa had been already explained earlier, with reference to which we can easily understand that It is the renunciation of such agitation breeding desires that is meant here. When once this renunciation of the disturbing desires has been accomplished, the individual's mind gains strength and stamina to assert itself as at first to make the wild horses of sense organs more tame and work under Greek control. And soon it comes to restrain all the sense organs from all sense objects from all sides. It is significantly very true that our mind is not able to control our sense organs, for it has been rendered weak and thoroughly impotent due to the permanent agitation caused by its own false desires. Once the mind gets strong as a result of its conquest over the desires, it discovers in itself all the strength and capacity to control the interiors from all sides. This process of quietening the mind can never be accomplished in a hasty action or by any imagination or by any strange and mysterious method. It is clearly indicated by the very insistence that the Gita makes in this stanza that the seeker should attain quietude as a result of his withdrawal from the world of sense objects by degrees, slowly and slowly, sane shane. The mind gains more and more quietude. No doubt, when the sense organs have stopped their mad onrush among their respective objects, a certain amount of mental quietude is gained. The methods intensifying this inner peace have been indicated in the stanza. Patiently with the intellect, the mind is to be controlled and rested in the contemplation of the self. The advice is extremely important to every seeker, and it gives the next item of the program for a meditator when he has accomplished through the exertion of the mind a total withdrawal of himself from the sense world during his meditation. The mind that is thus brought to a relative quietude is next to be controlled by the subtler personality layer in the meditator, which is his intellect. Just as the sense organs were controlled and restrained by the mind is now treated by the discriminating intellect and brought under complete restraint. Mind cannot be restrained except by fixing to the exclusive contemplation of one idea. Mind we have noticed is but a thought flow, and as such, the constant thought of the nature of the self is the exercise by which the mind is restrained by the intellect. A mind that has merged in the steady contemplation of the self becomes, as it were, still, and a divine quietude comes to pervade its airy substance. This is, as it were, the last lap of the journey to which deliberate and conscious action, Purushartha, can take any seeker. Krishna's exhaustive theory, which can be practiced by any sincere devotee, concludes in these two stanzas with a warning as to what the seeker should avoid at this moment of inward silence and peace. The Lord here does not instruct the seeker on what he should positively do. The divine flute player says, let him not think of anything. When he has reached this state of inward inner peace, after the halt moment, there is nothing more for the seeker to act and achieve. All that he has to do is to avoid starting any new line of imagination. Undisturbed by any thought of a wave, let him maintain the inner silence and come to live it more and more deeply, is all the instruction that the technique of meditation gives to the meditator. Knock and thou shalt enter is the promise. The knocking is done and the supreme presence you shall enter ere long. Ajirat. No two simple looking stanzas anywhere in the spiritual literature of the world, including books in Hinduism, can claim to have given such an exhaustive amount of useful instruction to a seeker as these two stanzas in the Gita. Even in the entire bulk of divine song itself, there is no other similar couple of stanzas which can stand a favorable comparison with this perfect pair. This, as rightly Gurudev mentioned in the stanza, the no too simple looking stanzas anywhere in the spiritual literature of the world, including Muslim, can claim to have given such an exhaustive amount of useful instruction to seeker. This explanation, this commentary is rightly narrated by Swamiji from his own experience. And you can imagine the in-depth of sadhanas he must have overcome or practiced to reach to the level which he is, which Lord Krishna also mentioning about, knock the door to enter into. In modern times, we are talking about meditation. Yeah, I went for meditation, or I'm practicing meditation. As compared to that, if those who are saying those words, if they read these two stanzas and the commentary by Gurudev, one can very well understand that what we are doing is not exactly what yoga is supposed to be practiced. Those who are gone through the Patanjali Yoga Sutra also, that is the one step more. The elaboration is that luckily Sanjay ji is very gracious to explore into that and teach us on that path also. So these are, in fact, that this will be the basis for the other next step, Kaivalya, Moksha, all kind of things. Now, from my experience, in fact, there are two types of this thing, what you call desires happening. One is sparsha, the other one is sankalpa. Now, sparsha means which are from the impulses of the physical bodies, like the touch, feeling, and all kind of things, arises normally from the sparsha. Then sankalpa, which arises from the impulses of the mind or mental situations, like, now sparsha we can control by sitting at in a what you call sealed room or anything out of world, like not touching. The sparsha we easily can control, but sankalpa, which is very difficult to control. Even when you practice yoga, as is mentioned here, you have to tune yourself. That will be there in that. Even that also is a sankalpa, according to me. The sankalpa includes desires of wealth, fame, dominion, etc. So many factors are coming into the sankalpa, which is boundless. Even by sitting for yoga, you can think about what is happening in your experience in New York, any other part of the world, all kinds of things. That you need very great effort. Indeed, it is concentrating your power all into one point. That has got, like, you can say a concave mirror, how the energy is focused and point to one piece of paper, that thing burns. That much energy is spread over in the sunlight, which we are not able to normally identify. But a lens, a concave lens, how it focuses and burns the power, the energy burns that piece of paper or the material focus to that. Similar way, if we control our, as narrated here, if we control our this sankalpa, the wandering of the mind, and contemplate in self, that power which the mind generates is enormous. I think the yogis, they are the best people who have experienced these things. And even some people, not even on yoga practice, but even in studying type or some lectures going on in schools, colleges, the way they concentrate on the subject being taught, they immediately, they don't have to revise or they don't have to read it again. From the teacher's mouth, it is just absorbing into the mind. That means the mind is controlled. Similar way, that is the first step. Now, another aspect to practice this is that now you are conducting the sadhana sandhya, where we are like chanting all those mantras and all kind of things. That is also concentrating the wandering mind, the sankalpas during the chanting of Vedic mantras and all kind of things. Thus, all those sankalpas are all eliminated and concentrated into what we are chanting, or the memory power. All those things are coming, and some people even close their eyes so that senses or the sparshas, all kind of things are eliminated. So that is the basic step. Once that when you go to the temple and all, that is the preliminary step of this yoga. Then all those other factors are coming into. Yoga practicing is very, very difficult, and once you mastered it, even 5-10 minutes every day, if you can do that, that will just regenerate, and you will have an absolute blissful life all through. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you, Dilip. Balaji, I would like, would you please share your views?
Hari Om, Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Very this set of shlokas all the way from 19 until 25, very deep, profound for a sadhak to understand, and because it is talking about the ultimate experiences and also the final touches in the path of meditation. We are very blessed to have Gurudev to guide us, particularly the commentaries, without which we would not be able to kind of get the utilitarian value that has been signified here even in Gurudev's commentary. Now, actually the last paragraph emphasized even by our Dilip ji, no two simple, this now two simple looking stanzas anywhere in the spiritual literature. That paragraph is a glorious input to us to understand what is the profound message that is being conveyed in these two verses. Elsewhere also in the commentary, now here listen carefully, Gurudev says, herein every word demands a commentary. Every word of these two shlokas demands a commentary. That is what Gurudev says. That much is the value that has been concealed in these two shlokas. Value in the sense, utilitarian value. For a sadhak sincere who has been able to follow the teachings of the Gita so far and has been able to purify his mind and intellect by the purgation of vasanas through karma yoga. For such a sadhak, these two verses are of very great importance, and that is what Gurudev says, that here every word demands a commentary, since every phrase leaves a hint which is so important in ultimately assuring for the seeker a complete success. So let's see and try to understand each phrase meaning serially. What is the development that one has to obtain in the process of meditation? Now, the earlier verses, as indicated by our Guru also, 19 to 23, the one or two important things is that, of course, we have to keep our mind single pointed, just as the lamp pointed upwards when there is no flickering wind because of which the agitations of the mind don't occur. That wind is the wind from the objects. So all that, whenever we are in, as again Dilipji pointed out, sparsh, when we get in contact with the set of objects, there arises a wind of desire, rather a storm, and then puts the entire system into complete agitation, and thereby not able to get the strength in the mind that is required for us to focus and progress. Again, in the verses, if you see, the importance has been given in the 20th verse, Yoga Sevaya, the word Yoga Sevaya, meaning here the practice of yoga, through the practice of yoga. And again, in 23rd verse, there is a beautiful, again, Yoktavyo, again indicating the importance of by practice, and practice with Nischayena, with the determination. So this only Gurudev refers here as the theoretical part, what has been discussed. Now, how do we bring this into practice? Practice where? Practice by whom? These are also the other questions that we have to now align our thoughts with. Now, the entire practice is by the personality layers of body, mind, and intellect. Now, we are talking about integrating the body, mind, and intellect, and ultimately gaining the experience of that supreme conscious Om. This is what is the subject of discussion, right? Now, when we say in these two verses, the important for this alignment or the yogam to happen, the fundamental malalignment happens when there is this sankalpa prabhavam. So that is the most important point that has been indicated here. Now, mechanism of action, kindle life, or in all our earlier discussions, we have understood the importance of the subtle, the ability of the subtler personality to control the grosser. Now, this is a reminder that needs to be kept in mind. The order in which is subtler than what, and how the gross can be controlled by the subtle. Now, this sequence has to be remembered throughout in the practice of our meditation. Now, the one statement which I often say that needs to be memorized by Gurudev's directions to us, how these vasanas are in the personality layers manifesting. As it is, the vasanas are not manifesting, but when it starts manifesting, how does it manifest? And these vasanas are the root cause for the sankalpa, right? So the Gurudev statement says that vasanas manifest in the intellect as a desire. Vasanas manifest in the mind as agitations. Vasanas manifest in the body as the action. Now, this is the manifestation of the vasanas. And this manifestation only we have to now avoid in the seat of meditation. So this has to be very clearly, this is what has been given here in this shloka as a reminder. And the word sankalpa, when it is used here, the term sankalpa has already been explained earlier in that 6.2. Gurudev gives a very beautiful explanation of this word sankalpa, which of course is the thought arising out of impulses of these vasanas, either from inside or from the contact of the sense of organs with the sense objects. The sparsha part, when it is in contact with the matra sparsha, when it is in contact with the outside world, the objects, there is an impulse flowing and the vasanas are getting triggered. If there are no objects also, sometimes we get through the memory of the past experiences, there is a impulse that is created from inside. So these are the 2 points of origin of what is called as this sankalpa. which is nothing but thoughts, desires arising from prayers. That is sankalpams, which are aimed, actions and desires aimed for enjoying a certain fruits of actions is sankalpa. So that is what again Gurudev is emphasizing here, that it is the renunciation of such agitation breeding desires that is meant here as sankalpa. Now, to understand this point more clear, the mind always has to hang on to something. That is what in this paragraph beautifully Gurudev says. The mind that is thus brought to a relative quietude is next to be controlled by the subtler personality layer. Here in this, when he is explaining this, he is explaining that the quality of the mind is to hang somewhere. It has to be anchored somewhere. It cannot be suspended. That is the nature of the mind. We have to keep on thinking about something. This is a constantly, it happens in us until we get to a single pointed focus, and then the next steps are given here. Shanair, Shanair. Now, therefore, the intellect is the one which can now help the mind to stay single pointed. Like in the windless state of that room, you can say as the shield for the lantern. What is that shield? The shield for the lantern is the intellect, that which is able to give the sense of value systems through which the intellect develops the strength, and which the mind is now emotional factor of the mind is controlled, and thereby it is being able to get it into a agitation-less state. So now this is the sequence that has been explained here. Now, can this happen suddenly? It cannot happen suddenly. And therefore, the encouragement given here by the Lord is Shanair, Shanair, slowly, slowly, Shavaya, Shavaya, what is. So it has to happen gradually and slowly. All of a sudden, it leads to suppression. Shanair, Shanair can happen, and the process of sublimation is what has been explained here as the Shanair, Shanair. So overall, when the sense objects in the sense organs in the body B is in touch with the OET, the mind gets agitated. So in order to not to get agitated, the mind has to control the sense organs. So the M controls the B, that is the first stage. And later on, even for that to happen, the mind has to gather its strength from the intellect. The intellect is the complete value system that we learn through the Shastras, and that which discriminates between Sat and Asat, Brahma and Chai, that is the between the matter envelopment and the consciousness. So this kind of discrimination is the ability that ultimately gives the strength to control the mind. So this sequence is what has been explained here. And mana kritva mana atma samstam. Yeah, the mind controlled by its establishing itself with the atma samstam. So this is what Gurudev has beautifully and very easily saying, detach and attach, because the mind needs to somewhere it cannot lie in the state of suspension. It has to get anchored, and this anchoring to the higher and nobler, Gurudev has used one word in the commentary in the 19th verse, Brahmakara Vritti. Brahmakara Vritti. For us to remain rooted with the higher, this Brahmakara Vritti is what is now required, right? So to stay rooted there. Actually, if you look back into the Bhagavad Gita sequence, and we many times relate it with this Mahavakya of Tat, Tvam and Asi, right? Now, here in this, we say that up to the 6th chapter, we are discussing with the aspect of the Tvam. And the seventh onwards, for the next 6 chapters, it is the Tat. Now, why is this in this way? If you actually examine, you will get the clue that to maintain this Brahmakara, the thought directed towards the higher, we need to have sufficient thought building exercise, for which we again need to develop this love. So if you see, the culmination of this is the bhakti, which comes in the chapter number 12. So for development of this bhakti, we need to understand more clearly the virtues of this Brahman. So the other chapters, particularly the 7th one is dedicated, and the 10th one is to understand the glories of this Brahman, and thereby the intellect appreciates its value and understands that the rest of the world, the OET, except Brahman, everything else is insignificant. And therefore, this is how the strength to the intellect is gathered, right? So now it is only the pointer, it is only an indication, and we have to continue this practice. For us to continue this practice, for the rest of the, that is to maintain our thought in Him, to attach ourselves in His glory, the contents of the upcoming chapters are very, very important. And ultimately, what can sustain this is bhakti. So therefore, from here on, after the karma yoga, in fact, after understanding the basics, the important aspect for the nodal point for the whole exercise to be successful is the aspect of bhakti or devotion, with which the mind can remain as that lamp focused upwards towards the nobility, right? So as a very first step by paying our gratitude to Gurudev for his extraordinary commentaries through which we are getting our guidance, if we are developing this attitude of gratitude, we will be initiated into the path of bhakti automatically. So also our Guruji Tejomayananda says in that Manashodhanam, the purification of the mind, there is an entire book. And even Acharya in his Bhajagovindam, the final is the Guru Bhakti. Guru Bhakti is the one virtue when developed. Everything else described in the scriptures is an automatic sequel development for the successful experience of the self. So once experienced, thereafter what happens? All that is discussed in the previous verses, where you don't move out of it at all. You are firmly established into that sukham, that bliss, and whatever may be the content of the and the magnitude of the sorrow, you remain unmoved from that one. This assurance given by as a culmination for all these practices. Now, this again, I just wanted to point out one important thing, of course, pertaining to 23, dukkha samyoga viyogam. This is an extraordinary definition of the yoga. Yoga sajnitam. What is yoga? Dukkha samyoga viyogam. Dukkha samyogam is our attachment to the OET. Viyogam is the detachment to it and getting attached to Narayana. So detach from the OET and attached to Narayana is this dukkha samyoga viyogam, which is a very, very rare definition of yoga. Now, one more very important point I like to read it is, when we consider this definition of yoga in this slide, Gurudev says, it is a surprise indeed that it has not become as famous as it should have been. Dukkha samyogam viyogam has not become famous. Had the students of Gita really grasped the infinite blessings of this inimitable explanation, think, item for pondering. Dukkha samyogam viyogam. This one phrase itself is worth and has that ability to keep us rooted to the higher qualities of the Brahman. Sadgurunath Maharaj ki Jai. Hari Om.
Wonderful explanation. We'll move on to next. Nanduji, would you like to share your views?
Hari Om. Very nicely explained, especially from the initial example, Mr. Guru, about the battery example. It was a very nice one. Similar to that, there is one example is coming in like a Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which is about like a discussion between Yajnavalkya and Raja Janaka. And Janaka is asking question with whose light we can see in a daytime. And like Yajnavalkya responding, it's because of the sun. Then with whose light, if there is no sun, then with whose light we can see during the maybe night time if there is no sun. So Janaka is replying, then maybe with the moon. And that discussion goes on. And one point it is coming that, okay, when there is no light, then there is no sun, then if there is no moon, if there is no fire, then how with whose light we can. So Janaka is replying, the wonderful thing is about like with the sound we can see. And beyond that, Janaka is asking, if all those things are not there, then with whose light we can see. And then Yajnavalkya is explaining about like Atma Jyoti. Because of Atma Jyoti, we can see all these things. And I believe that is one of the wonderful examples. Because of Atman only, we can see all those things. Especially on the 6th chapter, we can see that, and Upanishad says like, Manayo Manushanam Karan Bandha Mokshayo. Mind is the only thing which is the reason for the bandha as well as moksha. And today's sloka, like 24th and 25th and 24th sloka is starting with like a sankalpa. What is sankalpa? So like a definition of like mana, it says like a sankalpa vritti manaha. And because of mind, all those things are like happening. And as we know that like these are like one of the thing of antakarna. Like antakarna is having like 4 things, which is like mind, intellect, then chitta, and ahankara. And all of these things are like part of like antakarna. It's one and same, but once it is like task is changed, like sankalpa vikalpa is a mana, then nishyatmaka is a buddhi. Like that way, it is like changing on that one. And in Gurudev's commentary, Gurudev especially mentioned on the like 2 words like sarva and asheshayataha. And each and every word is having different meaning. And in the like all the scriptures and everything, if you can see, like there are like 3 types of karma it is mentioned. Like one is like kaik karma, vachik karma, and manasik karma. Especially we take care of like kaik karma. Okay, I will not do this, I will not do that, something like that. But even though with like vacha also, we should be refrain from like not hurting like other people and all that thing. But beyond that, going beyond that is especially on the mind. What is happening within my mind? Am I hurting someone's? And like Tukaram Maharaj says, like Konyahi Jivasa na Ghodo Matsara, Varma Vishweshwara Pujnaji. Means you should not hatred to anyone. And if you are doing that, if you are hating, I mean, if you are worshipping all the lords and everything, then there is like no use of that. And the like previous shlokas, like a reference to the like 23rd shloka, this is inclining towards like a shraddha thing. So you should have a like shraddha and faith to do all those things. And the example which is coming in like the chariot example in the Kathopanishad. So like mind is the controller of all these indriyas, and with that control, we should be doing all these activities like about the meditation things and all. And this is not going to happen maybe overnight or anything. And that's why this word is coming as a like shane shane. And Balaji Maharaj very nicely used that word, which most of us maybe knowing in the Arabic like shoi. Like slowly is going to happen. Like if I'm sick and if I bring a medicine from the pharmacy, and just like one whole bottle I'm not going to take, and that is not going to give me results. But like small doses, maybe one like teaspoon thing, maybe today, tomorrow, and that's how that things are going to happen. And about the like Kundalini Jagrati, I have just, it came across in my reading somewhere that like each day meditation or something, when we are doing these activities, then maybe like just of like your hair size, maybe that Kundalini is going to make like awakening, like a Jagrati. So that much time we need to make this study, and we should have that faith. Yes, with this we are going to able to achieve. Like these classes, like Chinmay study group, like every week, and maybe other activities, we should be able to reach up to that level. And just on the like, as I mentioned, like a kite watching and mansic, what we should do that. Like I think most of us, maybe our like Ramaraksha, and there we are chanting like Sri Ramachandra Manasa Smarami. So with mind, we should be thinking about like Sri Rama only. Sri Ramachandra Vachasagranam. Like with my Vani, the word should come about like a Sri Rama only. And the Sri Ramachandra Shirasa Naman. So with my body, I should go in front of God only, and Sri Ramachandra Sharanam Prapade. So which is covering like each and everything with the God or maybe our like Sadguru. That is the little bit summary for these two shlokas. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you, Nandi. Can we, Rajantan, you would like to share your?
Hari Om. Guru Maharaj ki jai. Everybody has spoken very well. The stanza is have been given very importance by Gurudev. You know, when others speak, mind goes to various levels where we have studied many texts and including Gita. So all those things are pouring into the mind. About Gurudev, see, there is a saying in Sanskrit, Shivarushte Gurus Tatra, Gururushte na Kaschana. Means, if the God is angry with you, there is no problem. Guru is there to save you. But if Guru is angry with you, kalas, there is no one can save you. So these things are coming into the mind when I think Nanduji has spoken about Gurudev. And particularly these two stanzas have been given a lot of importance by Gurudev, saying that I can just one sentence where Hindu, no two people looking stanzas anywhere in the spiritual literature of the world, including the sacred books of Hinduism, can claim to have given such an exhaustive wealth of useful instruction to a seeker. See, this is we are learning a lot of things, but what is the most useful thing? This is what we always look for. When I read this text, again, as I said, my mind was going to different stanzas and different occasions in the other text also. In Gita also, Buddhi yukte jahadiha ube sukrita dushkride tasmad yogaya yujyasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. For all the expertise of our karma or actions ultimately come into the yoga of Jivatma to Paramatma. So this is the thing we are learning. And this other previous stanzas have been very exhaustive to, in discussing all these methods, the useful instructions, the very useful instructions, as we have, as discussed in Gita, this is not available anywhere else except in Gita. That is why Acharya says, Samasta Vedartha Sara Sangraha Bodham Samasta Purushartha Siddhim. The Gita Mata is an epitome of all Vedic teachings, and a knowledge of it leads to the realization of all human aspirations. All human aspiration means including the salvation, the moksha, the mukti. So that much, it gives us a lot of goosebumps when we read all these things. Elsewhere in Bhagavan was saying, see, we cannot stop the thinking and all. Thinking will be, the mind is a flow of thousands of thoughts. Every moment it is occurring. We cannot stop it, but we can do one thing. It has got Bahumuga Agra, multiple focal points, that we can be into Ekamuga, in a single mukha, single spot, or single end. We can bring and lead it to the Lord. So Yogaradova, Bogaradova, Sangaradova, Sangya Vihina, Yasyat Brahmani Ramade Chittam, Nandadi, Nandadi, Nandatyava. You are a bogi or a yogi. Whatever you are, there's no issue. But as long as your mind is with the Lord, and you are the only one who is having that joy, Brahmanandam, Sankalpa, Viyogam, Yogam. Because your mind, has been already been then focused in the Lord, while you are engaged in a lot of activities. But it is a difficult thing. Arjuna has complained to Lord Krishna. Chanjalam, we have discussed this many times. Chanjalam hi mana Krishna pramadi ballavadradam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. Say, okay, that you are right, Arjuna, but abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. Through the practice and through the renunciation. Renunciation, here there is a focal point, including the seed of all vasanas also have to be asheshada, completely you have to remove. It is possible, Bhagavan says. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. And elsewhere, Bhagavan says, Krishna says, Arjuna says, Tasmad yoga yujyasya, no, not that one. Yam yam vabi smaran bhavam tejati ande galayabaram tam tamevedya kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavida tasmad sarveshu ma manusmara yudhyacha. Mai arpita mano buddhihi mam eva eshaisi asamshaya. See, tasmad, when you perform your tasmad, sarveshu kaleshu ma manusmara, when you yudhyacha, when you are in action, it is difficult, but when you are in action, tasmad sarveshu kaleshu ma manusmara, you remember me and engage in your actions. Actions can be even war, battle. Yudhyacha, even you can do war. Then what happens? Mai arpida mano buddhihi mameva esha isi asamchya. When your mind and intellect is footed on me, then definitely you are going to come into me only. So that is, when I study these stanzas in different angles, these are the things I can understand. But here, the method of practicing Sankalpa, Nirvikalpa Samadhi and Savikalpa Samadhi. Savikalpa Samadhi, when we practice, mind, the intellect and soul are different, but when ultimately when we attach our mind completely to the soul, then it becomes nirvikalpa samadhi. Actually, we are discussing these concepts only here. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you, Rajan. Hari Om, we can move forward. Sureshji, would you like to share your views?
Hari Om, Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Today's the two verses, the 24th and the 25th, Sankalpa Prabhavan, Kaman, Shaktya Sarvan Asheshada, Manasendrevya Gramam, Viniyamya Samandada, Shani Ubaparam Med Buddhya, Thridi Grihiyada, Atma Samsa, Mankrutva, Na Kinjidabi Chindi. The Anyartha is Sankalpa Prabhavan, Kaman, Sarvan, Asheshada, Tekta, Manasa Eva, Indriya Gramam, Samandada, Viniyamya, Thridi Grihitaya, Buddhya, Shani, Ubaramet, Mana, Atma Samstam, Krutva, Kinjit, Abhi, Na, Chinde. This is the Anyartha. And the cream or the profound message of these two words is the abandoning without reserve all desires born of the Sankalpa and completely restraining the whole group of the senses by the mind from all sides. Little by little, let him attain quietude by the intellect held in firmness, having made the mind established in self, let him not think of anything. In Swamiji's commentary itself, saying that in these two brilliant stanzas, the subtle art of the meditation has been explained. Still, Swamiji is elaborating. No two simple looking stanzas anywhere in the spiritual literature of the world, including the books in the Hinduism, can claim to have given such an exhaustive amount of the useful instructions to a seeker as these two stanzas in the Gita. Even in the entire bulk of the divine song itself, there is no other similar couple of stanzas which can be stand a favorable comparison with this perfect pair. As Balaji mentioned that each and every word required the explanation. So that much important. There are this two verses, it is enveloped with a full of technical terms. You can see that Sankalpa Prabhavan, Sarvan Asheshada, Viniyamya Samandada, Shani, Buddhi Tridi Grahiyada. You know, like that, lot of technical words we can see that. And this is the third portion of this chapter, the Dhyana Yoga. Here, giving the full explanation of the meditation, which is from the 11 to 32 verses, it is explaining. And last week, we have seen that, from 17th onwards, we have seen that the characteristics of the yogi and the definition of the yogi, in particularly in the 23rd verse also, we have seen that this is all, we can see that the theoretical side of the meditation. And coming to this 24th verse, we can see that this is the practical side. This is the practical side, how we have to train and how we have to put it into practice this method, this techniques, we can see that abandoning without reserve all the desires born of the Sankalpas. The Sankalpa also we have elaborately we have seen in the second verse of this chapter. And the particularly here it is saying that all the desires, it is born of this Sankalpa or the egocentric will. It has to completely, it has to eradicate. So that is the Sarvan Asheshda, all Asheshda, completely, it should be eradicated. And the problem of the Sankalpa, we have deeply, we have seen from the second verse. Again, I would like to repeat that, in the Mahabharata story, in the famous character, Yadi himself, he is saying that, Kama janam te moolam sankalpa kila jayade na tvam sankalpa vishyam samida bhavishyasi. Oh, now I have understand that, oh desire, you are born of the Sankalpa, I shall not have Sankalpa. Then you will not come and trouble me at all. Sankalpa, I shall not have the Sankalpa. All these desires are born out of the Sankalpas, because Sankalpa or the egocentric will. So I should not have any Sankalpa, and then I will not have any desire. And we have seen the result of the story. What are the bad effects of this desires? Where how beautifully it is narrated here. From the Bhagavata Purana also, in the Namaskandam also, it is saying that na jadu kama moolam upabhogena samyadi havisha krishna vartanam bhuya eva abhivarthade. The desire, the kama, we are not able to quench or by satisfying the desires. It is only like that, inflamed like the fire into which butter is poured to put it out. That is the language in Bhagavata we can see for the desire. So we cannot satisfy the desire by satisfying the desire. So this is the reason here it is saying that Sarvan Asheshda, Stakta Sarvan Asheshda, completely you have to eradicate Sarvan, all desires, Asheshda, you should not leave anything balanced. It is like that. And many of the commentators, this sloga, which is compared with the Rasa Sankalpa, which Nanduji also highlighted that from the Kadopanishad, the third chapter, it is saying that the mind, which is compared to the rain, and that is the one is controlling the buddhi. Buddhi, it is compared with the 5 horses. This mind or that rain only can check the turbulent behaviors of our mind, or this mind only can check that one. So the mind should be strong. Otherwise, if you are controlling and the buddhi, it is compared to the 5 horses. If you are controlling the 3 horses and the other 2, it will not take you to the correct destination. So you have to control all the 5 horses or the Panchendriyas. So that is the reason here it is saying that Sarvan Asheshada, you have to completely, you have to eradicate it. So it is a nice simile or the comparison with the Ratha Kalpana. If you think like that also, it is very nice that. And this is the way we have to eradicate our desires, the completely we have to eradicate it. We should not keep anything balanced, and how it should be shani, slowly and slowly. It should not be, impetuously. We should not do that. So slowly and slowly, we have to eradicate all these desires. And in these two verses, we can see that there are a lot of techniques, things we can see that what are the conditions to be adopted to practice the Dhyana Yoga. Here it is saying that we can see that we should give up all the desires completely, without the balance we have to give up or eradicate it. He should restrain the senses and the mind from the sides, from all sides. All indriyas should be controlled. He should turn the mind inwards by the control of the determined intellect and fix it in the self. From all sides, we have to control and we have to fix our self in the chitta, or the integrated our chitta with the self. And from whence it should be desire arises, that also we have seen in this verse. The desires arising from the egocentric will, from the sankalpa, it is the desires are arising, we have seen. And again, we can see that what is the type of the intellect needed for controlling the mind, and the means are the intellect should be firm and undespondent. The intellect should be firm and undespondent also we can see. And finally, we can see that how should the dhyana performed, and we can see that the dhyana on the self should be done slowly and slowly, not immediately or impetuously. Shani, we have to perform this one, and completely we have to eradicate our desires, and then only we will reach our goals. So these are the profound messages we can see from these two verses. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you, Suresh ji. And we straight move to Sanjay ji.
Hari Om. As has been told by all the previous readers, and as highlighted by Gurudeva himself, the two shlok have enormous significance. That is what Gurudev says. And he says each word will require a special attention. So he felt it, he said so. Now let us try to find out what is so great that Gurudev perceived. It is impossible to reach to the height of his perception, his understanding, because it is experienced understanding. It is aparoksha jnana. Our jnana, what we are now reading, is aparoksha jnana. Through our mental faculty of imagination, we are trying to understand the shloka. So the difference will always remain, yet we can definitely make an attempt to find out why this importance is given by Gurudev to these two shloka and what it really means. Sankalpa Prabhavan Kaman. The first part of the first line is Sankalpa Prabhavan Kaman. Kaman desires, Kaman desires, Sankalpa prabhavan prakarshena bhavati. That which essentially, predominantly happens because of sankalpa. Samyakena kalpate iti sankalpaha. That which is imagined in a balanced manner is sankalpa. So it has a word called kalpa. Kalpa is imagination, kalpana, imagination. Ability to extrapolate the thoughts about something which we have neither seen or not aware of is called imagination. One is pratyaksha pramanam. I am looking at my finger. I don't have to imagine a finger because it is pratyaksha, direct evidence in front of me. But that which is not within the perceptible limits of the sense organs is always imagined through the faculty of imagination that the mind has. And this faculty of imagination is the soul or the root of mind. What does the mind do? Mind imagines. And when we say mind imagines, it imagines multiple things. So there is vikalpa. First, there is sankalpa. I must eat. This is a sankalpa. I must eat. I should eat. Once this prabhavan sankalpa is there, then vikalpas come. What should I eat? When should I eat? How should I eat? How much should I eat? These are vikalpas. Vishesha kalpana. That means first the imagination is focused on a point, and then the multiple facets of that point is vikalpa. Now, sankalpa prabhavan kaman tyaktva. By giving up all such thoughts which come out of or arise out of imagination. Now it presupposes two things. What are we supposed to leave? Are we supposed to leave kama, desire? Or are we supposed to leave sankalpa prabhavan kam? Desire is called Ichha Shakti. Ichha Shakti is inherent in the Brahman. Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and Ichha Shakti are inherently there, inextricably interwoven in the Atman. That means all desires are not wrong. Sankalpa Prabhavan Kaman are wrong. That means there is something called Asankalpa Prabhavan Kaman. What is the guarantee that there is another thing of a set of desires called Asankalpa Prabhavan Kaman? Bhagavan himself tells us in Jnana Yoga, Balam Balavatam cha aham kamaraga vivarjitam. Dharma avirodho bhuteshu kamosmi. Kamaha asmi. Aham kamaha asmi. Bhagavan says, I am the desire. Here it is said, give up the desire. There he says, I am the desire. Kamosmi means what? Kamaha asmi. Swara Sandhi is there, so kamosmi. I am the desire. If I am the desire, what the Lord says, then what is wrong in I desiring? The problem is the desires are different. Ours is Sankalpa Prabhavan. His is Asankalpa Prabhavan. How can there be Asankalpa Prabhavan? When the desire is emanating from the mind or the chitta or the antakarna, it is Sankalpa Prabhavan, duly modified by the mind. When it is arising in absence of mind, amana avastha, that is what is called as dharma megha samadhi. The Rishi in his highest state, when he is in atma jnani atmavat avastha, that time also he keeps doing certain things. All those certain things are called pure desires or God's own desire or kamosmi. Dharma aviruddho. That which does not contradict the dharma. That means only the desires born out of pure dharma, dharma megha. That is how the Lord also desired and created the world. It is called dharma aviruddha kamosmi. But kamaraga sankalpa prabhavan varjitam. Sankalpa prabhavan kaman tyaktva sarvan kaman. Now this sarvan kaman asheshataha. Once you say tyaktva, why should you say asheshataha? What is this shesha remaining? I want to see you, Lord, is also a desire. In fact, I want to be desireless is also a desire. That's why one Sufi says, ये तमन्ना है कि आजादे तमन्ना रहूं. It is my desire that I should be without desire. Even this desire also is a desire. When that goes, it is called asheshataha. Nothing is left behind as a desire or kama. If nothing is left as desire and kama, then how the Bhagavan is saying kamosmi? Because the concept of I should get liberated muktum ichha, the desire to be free, also limits. So when the desire to be free is also freed, that is called complete desirelessness, asheshataha. So what do we do? Sankalpa. There is a reference given in the explanation to Swamiji's commentary on the word Sankalpa in 6.2, one of the highly classical commentary on what Sankalpa is. Enormously beautiful. Gurudev says Sankalpa is nothing else but a goal post in the future set by us for our action to reach. Remember, the action has its own unfoldment. You are here by virtue of your karmas, all right, but what you will be doing here has its own unfoldment. The stream of the water in the river is going to flow its own way. You need not be creating a dam in there and disturbing the water. It will trouble you. This is what we precisely do. When I do an action, I expect a result. A result is nothing else but an imaginary goal post created by the mind, and then you work only towards the goal post. But the fact is the action is supposed to unfold into result its own way, not by your goal way. And when the action unfolded goes into some different way and your goalpost is on a different way, which routinely happens, there is what is called as discord. This discord leads to repulsion or attraction. Arambha tyagi. When the action begins, when the karma begins, I am going to the office to do the work. This work may result in good salary, bad salary, increased salary, decreased salary, appreciation, insult. We don't know the unfoldment. We expect that I should be appreciated, I should be getting more salary, I should be getting increment, etc., etc. The goal posts are created that leads to what is called as a complete disillusion about what is happening in life. Now, moment you realize that, okay, you are not able to get what you want, you refine your goalpost again in imagination. This year I haven't got it. Hopefully I will get it next year. Again, the same problem. So life is nothing else but chasing of goalposts self-created by us for the future results of the action done in present, resulting into the strife called stress, giving rise to new karmas, karma samskaras. However, the one who has given up these things, asheshataha manasa eva indriya gramam, indriya gramam, all the sense organs, indriya gramam, viniyamya yamyate, properly controlled, visheshena, because it's an exercise, visheshena samantataha. Samantataha, in all directions. Akash is called Akash because asamantat kashayate iti akasha, that which shines everywhere in all directions. Samanta is direction. That is why we have the word called Samant, the Lord. Samanta means the Lord of all the directions. Samantataha, samantataha, in all directions. That means from no nook or corner, the desire is affecting the senses, bringing in the signals. This has to be done by manasa. Manasa is tritiya. Tritiya means instrumental case. By the mind. So you do the indriya gramam vinimaya, viniyamya, the control of the set of all the sense organs is done by the mind in all the directions. Then once who has done this, what is the result? To such a person, slowly, slowly, shanaihi, shanaihi, uparamet. Uparamet is the word described by Gurudev as let him attain. Described by Madhusudan Saraswati as control. Uparati leads to uparamata. What is uparati? Viveka Chudamani defines uparati as bahya alambanam vruttihi. Esha bahya analambanam vrutti esha uparati uttama. Bahya analambanam. Bahya analambanam means that which does not get stuck, attached to anything outside. And the one who is such then remains in a state which is attained. That is why uparamet. Let a person who has given up asheshataha in toto, all the desires arising out of sankalpa, such a person by niyamya indriya gramam samantataha, such a person then slowly attains buddhya dhruti grahitaya. Buddhya means by the intellect. That means this is to be achieved by the intellect. What kind of intellect? The purest possible intellect. Because intellect itself is a Shuddha Sattva. Since the Rajas and the Tamas is to be kept at its almost minimum, how much minimum? Even the Raja of breathing is also to be kept at minimum. Forget about any other activity, physical, etc. Because Sukhasanam Sthitaha. You're sitting in the posture, which is the stable posture, sthira, sukha asanam. So no physical movement. Absolutely slow and deep breathing. That much only the raja is used. Tama is totally absent. No sleep, no lethargy, only energy. That means sattva is predominating. And when such predominance of sattva is there, buddhi is going to act. So buddhyaha dhruti grahitaya. What does the buddhi does in the best possible manner? The function of the intellect is to catch. Grihit, to catch, to hold. What? Dhruti. Dhru is what? Dharana karana. Dharayate iti dhruti. Dharayate, to hold and cover itself with one thing. Catch hold of a sheet of cloth and hold it. Similarly, that sthiti which is described as Sankalpa Prabhavan Kaman Tyaktvan Asheshataha Indriya Gramam Niyamya Sarvam Samantataha, that sthiti is held by the intellect, and that is the only thing that is now in the intellect, dharana. When everything else is closed around us by shutting off the sense organs, and the mind has been surrendered to the intellect, and the intellect has now controlled the mind by holding on to only one ekagra subject. At that point of time, dharana happens. Giving away all these samskaras from outside, shutting off all outside influences is dhyanam. Holding on to one thing is dharana, and merge with what is held is samadhi. Dhyana, dharana, samadhi, three together is called sanyama. So stop everything from outside, hold on to one thing, merge with the one thing. Now, are these sequential steps or simultaneous? This is sequential or parallel. It is happening at one time. But how? Shanaihi, slowly, slowly. Why? Because when dhyanam is going to be done, there will be a vritti going outside. Again, bring it back. That is called vyuthana samskara, going out. Vyuthana, just slipping away, slipping away. So dhyana, dharana, samadhi together with the help of that buddhi, which is no more called buddhi, but is called now pradnya. Prakarshena jnayate. Now the buddhi has expanded. All the secular knowledge or laukika jnanam, including all the Nobel Prize winners' knowledge, etc., that's all a secular knowledge, laukika jnana. That is what buddhi does. Now he is beyond that buddhi. His expanse of the intellect has widened so much that he is holding his searchlight of the intellect has gone into wider zone that is called prajna. It's a flight of intellect to higher level of consciousness, also called pratibha. Such a buddhi then is able to do the focusing on what? So far it was focusing on the murti of the Bhagavan or the Shaligram. Then it was focusing on the tanmatras. Then it was focusing on the mind. Then it was focusing on the asmita tattva. Then it was focusing on buddhi tattva itself, pradhana. Now it is going beyond that and is focusing on atman, atma samstham manah krutva. Na kinchid api chintayet. What does that mean? Gurudev has given that. Gurudeva says, even the desire for this perfection in yoga is to be at the end totally renounced. The Vyuthyana Sanskar can be of two types. One is the mind going back to the world of senses. That is called as a Nimnatar or Nicha, lower level Vyutthana. There is a higher level Vyutthana also. What is higher level Vyutthana? Higher level going back. You climbed through the staircases to the last stage and now you are in the upper floor. But there is a tendency to go again back to the stairs. You may not go all the stairs down to the world, but you can go back to the stairs. That is going back from asampradnyat to sampradnyat samadhi. That is also called vitthana. That should not happen is the meaning of na kinchit api chintayet. Once that state is achieved, in which you have even lost the desire of achieving anything. It is that journey where the destination is lost. Why? Because you arrived at the destination. Na hazar hai, na khatar hai. There is no alertness. There is no fear. Na raza hai, na dua hai. There is no prayer. There is no blessing. Na khayale bandagi hai. There is not even sharanagati. Na tamannae khudai. There is no desire even to have godhood. It is that state. Once one reaches there, then, as Gurudev says, you have reached. But this happens shanaihi, patiently. Now the question is, this is all right for the person who is doing post-graduation because he is from sampradnyat to a sampradnyat samadhi. I am in this poor world. What to talk of focusing on Atman? I am not able to focus on my own work. What should I do? The message remains the same. Lower or the upper level of consciousness, the message is same. Stop. Shanaihi. Check all the actions that we do in our daily life and stop them. Think about what you're doing and then do the things slowly, perfectly, enjoying the working, not the result. You want to eat the food, but what is sadhana has to do with food? It has. Sit down, focus, wait, eat slowly. There are 4 or 5 things for eating. Enjoy each thing slowly with a patient mind. Oh, I'm washing my hands slowly. Knowing what you're doing, putting your entire intellect into the smallest possible act in the most deliberate manner with full awareness. That is the practice of sadhana in a day-to-day life for the people like us. So the essence is the last lap of journey has been described here according to Gurudeva. So reaching the last lap of glory is possible when we start the current steps in the most deliberate manner, applying the same technique at a lower level, refining the technique, and then applying it at a higher level. Hari Om.
We have 1 minute. Okay, Sukumarji, please start the closing prayers.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामय, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। Let us take our pledge. We stand as one family, bound to each other with love and respect. We serve as an army, courageous and disciplined, ever ready to fight against all low tendencies and false values within and without us. We live honestly the noble life of sacrifice and service, producing more than what we consume and giving more than what we take. We seek the Lord's grace, keep us on the path of virtue, courage, and wisdom. May thy grace and blessings flow through us to the world around us. We believe that the service of our country is the service of the Lord of Lords, and devotion to the people is the devotion to the Supreme Sir. We know our responsibilities, give us the ability and courage to fulfill them. Om Tat Sat.
Om Tat.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Yo.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.